Yeah, she's feisty
Oh my
tonight.
God. All right.
You'd
Sasha's
know.
ready for war.
Oh, she is.
Peace.
Yeah.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, I hope someone's got a starter other than me because I don't
that was
want
it.
Oh, that
We're
was
in.
the starter.
We're in. We're
in.
going. We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Okay.
I have been hooked on this for a little while. So the story that I'm doing on tonight is the Gibbons twins. They're also known as the silent twins. Have you know about them?
I know this one.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
know.
it's really interesting and it's
super
really sad.
interesting.
Oh, okay.
It is quite sad. So this tragic story begins in Barbados on April the 11th, 1963, when Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons welcomed into the world identical twin girls, June and Jennifer. The twins were siblings for 6-year-old Greta and 4-year-old David. Gloria was a homemaker and Aubrey was a technician in the Royal Air Force. Soon after the twins were born, the family relocated from Barbados to England, and then in 1974, when the girls were 11, they moved to Wales. Growing up, June and Jennifer were inseparable, as I would assume most twins are.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Especially twin girls. People thought the girls had a secret language at one stage, but it was in fact just a sped up version of their Bayesian Creole language, which is a mix of African and British and native to Barbados. So people couldn't understand them because they were just speaking their native tongue, but really fast. Even their parents and that struggled to understand what they were saying. Growing up, June and Jennifer were often excluded, and being the only black family in the community, they were often ostracised at school. This turned out to be very traumatic for the twins, and the school even allowed them to leave early to avoid any further bullying.
Damn, so it must have been pretty bloody
from the
bad.
school. Yeah, it must have been full on. If you can imagine that the only black people in the community, that's enough trauma there. But then if they're as weird, don't like saying that word, but
if the girls have
their own
relationship with each
correct,
other,
and they're only obviously it's just them two all the time. They're speaking in a tongue that people can't understand. So
that
double risk.
type of child, regardless of being part of a minority or anything, would probably
be ostracised.
Yeah,
definitely. As they got older, their language became more eccentric, and eventually it became unintelligible to others. Their behaviour often mirrored each other, and the concerns about the twins' behaviour began to rise. June and Jennifer withdrew from the world and would only speak to each other and their younger sister Rose. In 1974, so they're still 11, their school was carrying out vaccines when their behaviour caught the attention of one of the medics. The medic then notified a child psychologist. This kicked off many therapy sessions for the twins, and therapists tried but were unsuccessful in getting the girls to communicate with others. They just were not interested. It was just them.
That was really the first time a psychologist or anyone
at 11 got involved at 11.
I just feel like that family dynamic would have been so shitty for ever since they started doing that, being loners.
And mum and dad probably left them on their own because they had each other.
Yeah,
they should have other attachments.
They had 2 older siblings plus a younger sibling.
I just feel like intervention should have been so much earlier.
And
maybe
this is the 70s, but
if
not going to happen.
If the parents were active, they probably would have had other attachments, and they wouldn't have had such a severe attachment to each other.
Yeah, but if
the parents were active, they wouldn't have needed to get help. Probably.
Yeah, and mum being a homemaker, probably with 5 kids. Dad being a technician in the Royal Air Force was probably not around, so it was just her and their babies. So she was just like, well, they're doing their own thing. That's just what they do.
They'll just grow out of their weird.
Correct. Let their kids. You know,
it sounds like
we've all got quirky kids.
Really
100%, definitely. So in an attempt to break June and Jennifer's isolation from the outer world, and I guess to help them to find their own identities, they were sent away to separate boarding schools. While being separated from each other, the girls became catatonic and just completely shut down. I had to look up what catatonic meant because I didn't know. Do you guys know what that means?
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's like pretty crazy when I
You
read
can
it. I was like,
explain
whoa.
it, just, because not everyone would
Well,
know.
the
So
listeners-
catatonia is a neuropsychiatric behavioral syndrome that is characterized by abnormal movements, immobility, abnormal behaviors, and withdrawal. So I was reading that, picturing like these freaks. That sounds bad, but that's what I was picturing. These two weird little girls just in their own world, giving zero fucks, just doing their thing.
To see,
It-
I think.
yeah.
I feel like that would have been
Super creepy.
really
They
weird.
probably were deeply
behaviour,
traumatized
yeah.
when they were separated.
Y-
That
yeah.
does not sound like the right approach.
No, definitely,
And, like,
definitely not.
that
And
sounds
now
like a
there's no way
protest.
now. Yeah, there's it's exactly what
Like
it
they're
sounds like.
protesting the fact that they've
They
separated.
Yeah,
only,
they're
they only
separated, we're
separate
shut
siblings
down.
if there's nowhere to place them or if they're like a risk to each other.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they're
Otherwise, it's just
ever-
traumatic.
But in the
Yeah.
70s, it would have been like, no, there's something wrong with them. If we get them away from each other,
Maybe
they'll
that's-
have no choice but to.
Yeah, or maybe
communicate
it'll
with
stop
other
their
people.
weird little relationship. The talking that they're not understanding, and maybe they'll just be normal if they're not near each other.
Yeah.
But
And I would hope there's
made
no
it
way in
worse.
hell anything like this would happen in this day and age. Because, like you said, Cam, it would have
at
been so
school,
traumatic
at
for
the
them.
very least, someone would have.
It's another case of like,
intervened.
what is the actual fucking issue? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they talk weird, but like,
Yeah, but are they passing school?
yeah,
Are
like,
they
does it matter?
fed? Are they
healthy?
nutrition? Like
what's are you like forcing all this fucking shit and
For no
actually
reason?
traumatizing
Yeah.
them
Well,
because
maybe that's why
they
the
don't
mum.
fit into what you view as being normal?
Maybe that's why the mum and dad never did anything because
Well,
they
then
were
they
like,
should stick up for them a bit
they're
more,
just
not let them be
kids.
separated.
and
they're
they're
just
from
kids
Barbados too. So and we know
Yeah.
what those sort of countries are like. That their kids
Got
are their kids. That's-
communication barriers
Yep.
and lots of things going on there.
yeah, so
But
like
still,
a
it's
recipe for
yeah, you
the
hear that
really
a lot, and it's
strange
like,
shit,
well,
yeah.
I don't actually hear a problem with the kids. I hear a problem with the way people are treating them. But
yeah, because
yeah.
they want them to be
Because,
normal.
yeah,
like
they're not
everybody else.
they're not fitting into where you think
yeah,
they should
yeah,
fit
that's
in.
right. Yeah,
Doesn't mean there's anything wrong
Yeah,
with them.
that's right.
Not at all.
Mm.
Not at all. So once the girls were finally reunited, they spent years isolated in their bedroom, engaging only with each other.
So
So
it sounds like they
sad.
made it worse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're like,
did by
"Fuck
separating.
society."
Yep.
we'll just
We're
stick
just keep-
together.
yeah.
It just affirms your belief that you just need each other, doesn't it?
Yep.
I just
Like,
wonder if
it-
something horrible happened to like those girls when they were younger, where they just felt like they could only trust each other, or
It
they didn't
seriously
want to talk
sounds
to
like
other
an
people.
attachment thing. Like you're
Yeah.
just neglected and you've just got each other. You
Yeah,
got
but
nothing
like,
else.
why did they pick just each other? Like they had other siblings. I know you said they talked
Well, there
to
w-
the
was
younger.
obviously one
The
that was
younger
younger.
one. Yeah.
So, but like being so young, maybe she wasn't threatening to them. Maybe something.
But it was,
form-
there was only 6 and 4 years difference.
So
with,
attachment
the
you
oldest.
form very early. Like, you form it in the womb.
and they
for
would
your
have had
mother.
that from
So
there.
they would have had it together,
Together
in the womb.
So it's much
right? So they might
stronger.
not necessarily have had it with their mum as much straight away.
Mm.
And then their younger sister's obviously younger. So they're born together and they've got time to develop a real strong bond. And if they've got an older sibling, then they're older. So they're not going to be as connected to
No.
a baby either.
Yeah.
And being identical, that they shared the same sac, didn't they?
Yeah, identical.
'Cause
Yeah, they
it's-
do.
it's
They
just
share the
identical
same
and
egg.
fraternal.
They're in the same
isn't it?
egg.
Same
Yeah.
Yeah.
embryo that just split into
Yeah.
two.
Yeah,
But then when it comes to
just twins.
non-identical twins, I
Yeah.
think there's a few ways that
What
it
about
can go.
Siamese twins?
Fuck, I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
just creepy.
Just unlucky is what that is.
That is
isn't-
very
isn't that-
unlucky.
Wait, that they're the attached
The
ones.
attached
Yeah, yeah.
So
ones,
they're
yeah.
the ones that didn't fully, like the embryo
Separate.
didn't fully separate. That's
Cool.
And then there's
Yep,
those
yep.
people, what are they called? Is it the parasitic twin?
That sounds horrible. Sounds like a
Yeah, well, they
Well,
parasite.
it's
absorb the
just-
other one.
They
Oh,
absorb
the-
the other one and
yeah.
they're born
Yeah.
with like a bit of them
Yeah.
hanging out.
Oh, I've heard some pretty fucking hot. Actually, we could do an entire episode on the weird
Maybe that's
shit
what,
that
like,
goes on.
Mega geniuses really are, is people that have absorbed their twin's brain.
Actually, I
Good.
was doing my ancestry.com thing, and when I was like doing some research, there was a story of, probably heard it because I think it was like all over Facebook and stuff. But there's that story of the couple that had a baby, and for whatever health reasons, they did like a DNA sort of test, and they found that the dad didn't have the same. It wasn't his child, but they were
Did
both.
they do IVF?
No, but they were both like, she was like, no, he is the father, and he agreed too that he was the father of this child. So when they looked into it more, eventually they found, I think it's called something ghost. I wish I could remember it properly. But basically what had happened was the dad was one of those twins who absorbed his brother, and somehow it was his brother's DNA that had produced this child. So the baby was...
Yeah, I've heard this story.
That's-
The dead
Oh
brother
my
must
so
have
he's
lived
like a
forever, yeah.
ghost father or something. Oh, it's got a name. But basically, yeah, so he was never born, but he bore a child. Like, well, he
That's
didn't bore a
fucking
child.
spun out,
He has a child, but he doesn't exist. He was never born.
And
But you know what? In a different time, you would never know, because the child would look...
Oh, there's no way you'd
You'd
know.
still look
No.
like your dad.
Still, most people now wouldn't know.
No. But that's
Yeah.
probably happened many, many a time. It's only now that we can actually figure that
Yeah.
sort of thing out.
that it's getting noted.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's actually I'm your nephew or your niece, not your
Not your,
child.
not your daughter or your son.
Yeah.
That's crazy
Yeah.
shit.
Anyway, tangent.
Anyway,
that's
so
fine.
back to the girls. So yes, June and Jennifer were isolated in their bedrooms, playing only with each other. They created plays and stories with their dolls and often recorded them on tapes to give to their little sister. So I don't know if they'd stopped engaging with her at this time, but this was their way of engaging with her now, or if
That's
she was their
crazy.
Warning
she was
her.
their person, she was their safe spot.
Yeah.
So we're comfortable. This is what we're doing. And that's a lot of pressure on the younger sibling
Yeah.
too,
It's
really.
a weird
And I don't know
situation.
how younger she was, but that's still a lot of pressure. So on Christmas 1979, so the girls are 16 now, they were both gifted a diary, and this kickstarted the girls' writing careers. The twins wrote stories, poems, and novels. Most of their stories were set in America, and more often than not, the main characters exhibited strange and criminal behaviours,
Ooh.
which is quite odd for two girls that are like isolated.
I mean,
But-
it's creative and
they've
all
probably
that. I
seen
guess
movies
like
It is
and
creative.
at that
books.
point, it's really just like.
But because I don't
innocent.
even picture them watching TV or anything, I just picture these two
Just
little
sitting there being
girls
psychotic.
sitting there being
Just being,
crazy.
like, silent
that
and
is that
staring.
is what I picture.
But I'm sure they did all like.
Oh fuck!
My dog just scare you. He
Oh, yeah.
wants a pat.
Actual scared me. Jesus, Hendrix. I was picturing these two psycho little girls, and then you come up.
Coming up and having a lick.
Thanks, puppy. So by the age of 18, the girls began doing what teenagers do and were experimenting with alcohol and drugs. They were committing crimes which included vandalism, petty theft, and arson. In 1981, June and Jennifer were admitted to the Broadmoor Hospital, which is a high security mental health institution.
Is that just because of their
Just
crime?
because, no, not because
Well,
of their
they can't.
crimes,
They
because
don't
they're
talk
not
properly
talking to
and-
anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so yeah, I guess if
Yeah,
they would have been
so
arrested, and
we're
that,
not
they would
putting
have
you
just
in
sat
jail.
there
Yeah.
and not spoken, and they would have been like,
Exa-
okay,
You're going to the
Someone-
institution.
yeah.
Yep.
oh, that's sad.
That's exactly what happened. So they were detained under the Mental Health Act 1983 and were sentenced to an indefinite sentence.
Oh, damn.
Well, that'd-
Horrific. That is
yeah.
horrific.
But I guess you have to label it as indefinite because you don't know how long it's going to take to figure out
Yeah, I suppose that makes it.
their
So it
behaviour.
could also be a short amount of time.
Yeah, indefinite doesn't mean forever. You're not getting like you're not imprisoned forever. It's just they just,
It's just
can't
you put a
time.
time on
And
it.
if
Yeah,
they
I guess when you look at it
decide
like
they
that.
want to forget about you, you could be in there for a long
Oh
time.
yeah, no, that's a
It
scary
could.
situation. No one
fuck
wants to
that.
be put in a mental institution.
not
have
at
all.
Indefinite put on there.
And
no.
especially these are two 18-year-old girls who have done nothing more than what
Yeah.
And
a
that's
lot of
sort
fucking teenagers do.
like I may be a bit biased when it comes to mental institutions and stuff like obviously because we obviously research this type of thing and you only
Yeah.
hear the bad stuff. But I don't feel like a mental institution for people like that is going to do anything but make it worse.
Exactly right.
Like maybe if you mandated that they have to go to,
Speech therapy.
you know, even if it was intensive, like
Yeah.
every day or something like that. But locking them up, I don't think that's helpful.
No, definitely not.
Especially because they're the type that
It's better
will
to
just
put the
be more
support
silent.
in their home.
Exactly.
Like if they need it 24/7, then fine. Put them on home D and have 24/7 around the clock care.
Yeah.
But then that's costing.
It always comes down to
And we're in the early
funds.
80s where things still weren't really understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well, we struggle now to kind of get people to
yeah, we're still
understand that.
not there.
We're still not there, but we're definitely better off than what we were. So June and Jennifer were held there for almost 12 fucking years.
Damn.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I mean,
Almost
people
12
get
years.
out for murder in way
In
less than that.
way less than that. And yeah, all because they would not communicate with people.
Yeah,
they
so
were
we don't understand you,
So
therefore you
we're
can't
locking you away.
be free because
Yeah.
we don't understand what's going through your brain.
Yep. They were placed on antipsychotic drugs, and June was said to say that it made of them very hard to focus and concentrate on a day-to-day basis, as it would, because there probably wasn't anything wrong.
I mean, they thought they were catatonic
here-
before. I doubt that helped.
No, definitely not. June sent letters to the Queen for help. Got
Okay,
nothing.
That's random.
And she also blames this as the reason for their selective muteness, but I'm not sure if I believe that because they were mute
Yeah,
prior to
it may have made
going
it worse.
in. It may have made it worse,
that
but,
was
but they
already-
were like
that was
that
like the issue, wasn't it?
beforehand. Yeah,
Everything
that
they've
was the
done for
issue.
them has made it a bit worse.
Worse.
Yeah.
While at Broadmoor, Jennifer developed numerous health problems, including neurological disorder, which resulted in involuntary and repetitive movements. In March 1993, June and Jennifer were finally transferred out of the Broadmoor Hospital into a much more relaxed environment at Caswell Clinic. However, upon arrival, Jennifer could not be woken. She was taken to the hospital where she died 1 month shy of their 30th birthday of acute myocarditis, which is a sudden inflammation of the heart. Toxicology reports indicated no sign of drugs, alcohol, or poison, and her death still remains somewhat of a mystery.
Definitely.
that's
Like I
pretty
would
weird.
have immediately thought she's been overdosed.
Overdose.
Or
Yep.
she's
No-
been
nothing.
Conspiracy.
yeah, like she's
Big
been so
time.
badly
They accidentally
treated
killed
and
her
they
and
tried to
covered it
hide
up.
it.
So that's what you think until you hear this.
Right.
It is believed that the girls had made a pact years earlier that if one of them was to die, the other must begin to speak and live a normal life. June and Jennifer believed that one of them must die for the other to live normally, and Jennifer decided that she would be the one to make that sacrifice.
Oh my God, I think I've heard this fucking story. Now that I've just heard you say that.
This
Wow.
is the main bit that people would remember.
During
Yeah.
the inquest into Jennifer's death, June stated her sister had been acting strange a day before her death, slurring her words with her speech and saying that she was dying. It had also been said that June was acting strange after her sister's death, saying, "I am free at last, liberated, and at long last Jennifer has given up her life for me." Since the death of her twin, June has lived a normal life and has been accepted into the community that once alienated her. She never married, never had children, and never fulfilled her lifelong ambition to become a writer. Their elder sister, Greta, wanted to sue the institution, and her parents just refused and said it's not going to bring Jennifer back. There's no point in
Damn.
doing this. So yeah, basically Jennifer
Killed herself,
killed herself
but with her mind.
with her mind,
So
and that made
That's-
my anxiety freak the
That's-
fuck out.
Yeah, it's like the idea behind it is that she sacrificed herself, but she didn't have to do anything to die except
With the mind,
will it.
Yeah.
highlights a few things, doesn't it? Like
They
the
were so intense,
mind is incredibly fucking powerful.
powerful. Yep.
And when you hear about people who have really good control over their mind, they're often people who have like cut themselves off from everybody,
Yep.
gone and done like the deep thinking and the meditation and all of those things, and they're like connected with their body and their mind, but they've forsaken everything else to do it. And they were given no choice but to do that for 12 years
Yep.
and longer
Yep.
when they were doing it at home. So maybe she was capable of just saying, I'm going to die
No,
and then
it's
die.
just going to happen.
I wonder if they decided who was going to be the one to do it.
Yeah, apparently there
I
was big
think-
discussions
I think
Right.
over who.
I vaguely remember when I heard this before that I think one of them was a little bit more dominant than the other,
Than the other.
and she was the one
That's the
that
wives.
killed herself
Oh, really?
because she felt that she had
Too much control over the-
prevented the
yeah.
other one
From
from
living.
sense.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
I think. Don't quote me on it.
I
but
mean,
think
it's
that's what-
obviously most likely that, they just went down some really horrible joint psychological road that led to that. But given the fact that, she might have killed herself with her own fucking mind.
That is a whole new kettle of fish.
Yeah, and it makes it possible that they're actually correct. Like getting back into the whole, like we did last week with how do you know? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know that they didn't actually know that they were like stuck in this fucking half body thing where,
maybe they
know?
truly were linked.
yeah,
Maybe-
Yeah,
and they
big
needed-
time.
Maybe
I think I really
couldn't-
think they were.
couldn't interact with other people. Maybe
Yeah.
they were sharing thoughts. Or
Maybe that was like
something.
what you were seeing, those two people. It was actually one person trying to
Trying to
communicate
live
as
and
one, but there was
Maybe
two
that's why
separate
they
things
could-
going on.
Maybe
like,
that's why they could talk so fast and not even be understood by their parents who would have spoken their language.
What happens if you got that
Because
audio?
they were sharing a link.
What happens if you got that audio
Just
and even though you
slowed
couldn't
it
because they'd be on
down.
the same frequency? No, but split it in two. Would you hear two different people answering the same
Oh,
question? All
yeah.
right, so they're both.
Because I
trying
found
to
that
talk.
really strange.
Does that
I
make
mean,
you know what
Yeah.
I'm
if
saying?
Yeah,
you
I know
don't
what you
know
mean.
what your child's saying, but even if my children spoke a really sped up, weird accented
You learn to
version of English,
You adapt.
I would
People with
I
highly
would figure they were speaking
autistic,
English.
almost non-verbal children understand their children.
Yeah.
Parents
They
Yeah.
understand
they
their
do.
children, yeah.
I can understand Eli
Yeah, well,
quite a
yeah,
fair
it's-
bit, and then his speech has improved a lot. But even when he was still classed as non-verbal, I still knew
Yeah.
the bits and pieces that he wanted to say. Or if I didn't, he was very, very good without being taught with
Yeah.
hand gestures. He would hand gesture to communicate. These girls weren't even.
But let's just say,
doing
right? So
that.
say there was one person and they started doing that. You'd be like, okay, they've got like some kind of schizophrenia, or back in the old days, they'd be like, they're fucking possessed and they need an exorcism because they're speaking
In
in
tongue.
Tongues, yeah.
Well, just put that into, okay, it's not, they don't have another thing inside their brain. Their brain was literally separated into two bodies. So that same thing is happening and they're speaking gibberish because inside their brains are so connected. Am I made you?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
no,
sort
I
of
get
what I
what
was
you
looking
mean.
at as
They're
well.
both essentially possessed with the other one's
Yeah,
thoughts.
which would
Yeah,
make it
that's crazy.
which would make it exceptionally difficult to have interactions with other
Yeah.
people.
Well,
And then
Yeah.
you could only communicate. You'd figure out a way to like get your flows flowing so you could communicate with each other,
I love speculating on
and
this
then
stuff.
decide like this is just too fucked up. Like
Because,
one of us
yeah.
has got to go. Hey,
Now, in my mind, that totally makes sense because it's like, why didn't you speak to people? Why did you just speak to a small child because they're much simpler and easier to talk to? Why did you sacrifice yourself? Like,
Yeah.
why did you need to die so that the other one could
Could
live?
live normal.
when
Why
you
could
could have
not?
just physically separated
Separated.
from each other.
it seems possible,
But
doesn't
if-
it? Like your
yeah.
soul can almost split into the two twins. Like it almost went into both and
Yeah.
fucked up, and they've
Yeah,
got
like
this
maybe they
continuous
were
link
just-
between themselves. That's
just
sending
fucking
them
them
into
up.
like
Yeah.
overdrive.
I mean, that all makes that. There we go. We solved it. There
We
you go.
did.
We
eh?
did.
We fucking
Well
did.
done.
In 100
Go
years'
Team
time, when
Fucks.
science proves this will be on record.
We got there
Yeah.
first.
We're going to be like
fucking
one of
A.
those
Yeah.
Simpsons episodes. Hey, remember
Yeah.
this Simpsons episode? Be like, hey, remember that Histories of the podcast?
So if you have weird catatonic twins, it's all right. They're just sharing the same mind, and it's really exhausting to try and talk to
Yeah,
people
the
when you've
poor
got
guys.
someone
So
else.
just let
you
them
gotta
go.
help them
Just
soothe
let them go.
themselves. That's
Yeah.
what I would recommend: is comfort, nice sensory rooms.
Yep.
Yeah, help them to just relax, music and headphones and stuff like that. Try all different things, but fuck me, I hope that's not like a real thing because that's pretty scary and horrible for people.
You'd
to-
hope it's 1 in like 6 billion.
Yeah,
But that was just such a tragic story
Yeah, definitely. It's like you
for
didn't.
me.
If what we said is not the case, and it's like you didn't need to go to a mental institution. You didn't need to have.
well, who does? Who needs to go to a mental institution?
Yeah, no, it's just like surely it wasn't pure stubbornness of not wanting to talk to people.
That got you
that
there.
that made
Yeah,
your life go
Big
down
lack
that
of understanding
horrible
every step of the
path.
way.
I mean, they didn't go out and like turn into crazy psychotic murderers or anything.
No,
So
and
it's like, what
June
path
lived a
was it
normal
even-
life.
What were you, yeah, and then when her sister was gone, she was able to live a normal life.
Yeah.
So it's like you weren't
They
cured.
always had that
Let's not
capability
pretend
to be able
that
to
you
do
were
it.
cured from being in that mental institution.
You were just free. Like she said
You-
in her statement, she was literally freed.
Yeah,
she
so
was freed.
you
They
all
were
of a
stuck.
sudden snapped out of it. Either you were being completely controlled and manipulated by your sister your entire life, and then somehow just disconnected from all of that and lived a normal life afterwards.
Nah, it
Or there
sounds
was
like
some weird freaky
she
shit
died
going
and
on.
the other half of her soul went into the
Yeah.
her sister's brain, and then
Or
they
she
connected.
just got
And then it was a normal,
It was a normal
functioning
conscious.
person.
yeah. Or maybe
Conscious,
she
yes.
just didn't have that voice in her head anymore and she became a normal functioning
Correct,
person
there's
because
that
she was
too.
her own person.
Yeah,
Very
that's the
true.
more likely,
Yep.
but I much prefer our way. So much cooler.
I
It actually makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like, I know from because we can't prove any of it, you got to go, the psychological pathway, they made all this stuff happen because the mind's a powerful thing, and they had attachment issues and rah, rah, rah. And then when she died, that attachment was broken, so she was able to begin to rebuild the pieces. But that doesn't make as much sense as, if you put it into, they were born, they had this insane thing from the womb together, and when they came out of the womb, they were so connected within the womb that they became two but one, and led their life stuck in this
feel
fucking
like
thing.
this is a
Literally
great movie we
stuck.
just wrote.
Yeah.
I think so too. We've done it.
Cool, awesome.
Well, that's a good story.
That was good.
That was an interesting.
I wonder
little
if there's any
story.
more like that. What's her name? Was it June? Does she
June
do
and Jennifer.
interviews?
No, yeah, she's done a couple of interviews. Yep, done some
That's pretty
interviews.
interesting.
Well, what would she be now? Should be about that many.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
No, it was 30 she died, Jennifer, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that
And that
was,
was,
so that was 81.
84 or 81. So that's 30, 40.
That's so about
It's
60.
40 fucking years ago, man. Jesus. And she's 70. She's 70.
Wow.
Getting on.
That's
Old
crazy.
June, yeah, the name suits a 70-year-old.
But do you know what else I found funny about that story? So the twins there were June and Jennifer,
Yeah.
and the twins in the Polak little story were Gillian and Jennifer.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's crazy.
Don't name your child
The
Jennifer.
don't have twins and don't name them that.
No. And yeah, the J's. Crazy
Yeah.
shit.
And it all reminds me of obviously because it's fresh in my mind, of the Nazi experiments where they're experimenting, and we'll get to it, Kate, because I know you look at me like, what?
The twins.
They experiment on twins.
Mangler would have loved those
Wow.
too.
Yeah. And
Is it Mangler?
Yeah, I wonder if there are much older stories, and many of them like this, and that was also part of the reason why experiments have been done on twins for the longest time.
Okay, well, that was a good one, Kate.
Thanks, guys.
No
nice
worries.
little short, sharp, shiny one.
Everyone go like our socials and go check out all that. Wow, I got a new toy. I got a new toy. We have a fucking cartoon, people. If anyone can draw, I am deadly serious about our painting now. Fuck the painting, okay? Painting's off. We don't want a painting anymore. What we want, if you can get on Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop and you know how to draw, we want a table. And then we want all created separately. Who do we want? We want Catherine Knight puppet. We want the arseless chap. We want Miss Vincent.
No, we don't.
We fucking do.
We do not.
She's going to be hooking some fucking body hotcakes. Okay? We want them
they're
tea
fucking
cakes.
tea cakes. Get it
Yeah.
right.
All right? They're going to be getting served out by Ed Gein. Okay?
This
and
is
then
why
we're going to be
you've been
sitting.
coming to
And
bed at
seriously,
4
people,
a.m.
I can turn
every
this into a fully functioning cartoon. Okay?
Such a
We can
nerd.
have our podcast sitting around a table with all these motherfucking people. Miss Vincent can actually hook me.
Do you
Okay?
know what?
So
No
if
one
you
knows
can
who's
draw.
just
Going to.
What do you mean no one knows? I was
You don't
They're
explaining
looking
it.
at our YouTube.
Yeah, go check it out. They're new videos, okay? We've got 2 episodes out on Facebook and YouTube. Go have a look at them. They're awesome. They are awesome.
The reason
I'm
my
Lilith,
husband
aren't I?
doesn't
Am I
come-
Lilith?
You're Medusa.
I'm Medusa.
Yeah.
The reason my husband doesn't come to bed till 4 a.m. in the morning is because he's
making
playing
puppets.
with and designing puppets.
They're cartoon puppets. So if you can draw,
I showed my boss
Bring
at work
it.
these the other day. She thought it was awesome.
they are so awesome.
We're just saying this to be nice to you, Kate.
Oh my god.
seems to be the
You
story.
look so upset when I said I was joking. It's okay.
You're
I
our
love them.
biggest critic.
I love them.
She, oh, 100%.
I love
But
them.
she's just hating on me right now. So
You know why.
You know. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Alright.
Oh, and go get fucked on Patreon.
If you want to know why I hate Kate.
Yeah. $30 for
No.
this one, people.
nope.
All right.
Nope. All right, peace.
Peace.